स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ क्लास 11th आप प्रोटीन पढ़ रहे थे. Now today we will go towards the properties of proteins. You know that the proteins are very important macromolecules present in all the living organisms. The proteins have certain important properties. First property is variety. Proteins vary. There are so many types of proteins present in organisms. Hundreds and thousands types of proteins are present. 20 amino acids can form thousand types of proteins. Therefore, proteins vary in their type. Different types of proteins are present, and proteins are specific. Specific means that proteins are specific. They are present specifically in all the living organisms. Every species have specific types of proteins, and every species has specific types of proteins. Proteins vary as per species. Every species has specific types of proteins, and the related species have related proteins. Related species, the species which resemble with each other to some extent, they can have proteins resembling with each other to some extent as well. Therefore, the proteins have property, that is specificity. Another property is proteins are large sized. They are large sized, have large molecular weight. The smallest molecular weight present in proteins is of present in a hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone is having minimum molecular weight, that is 4,500 adrenocorticotropic hormone, and the maximum molecular weight possessing protein is having molecular weight 4,60,000. 4,60,000, which is known as pyruvate dehydrogenase. Pyruvate dehydrogenase. It is having the highest molecular weight, that is, it is having 4,60,000 molecular weight. That is, proteins are large sized, they are macromolecules, and they may be present in colloidal solutions. This is another property. They are present in colloidal form. They can be present in colloidal form. They are present in colloidal solutions, as they are having large size, being large sized. Reactivity of proteins, as we see, proteins are reactive in nature. They are enzymatic proteins which are showing reactivity. Proteins have another property, that is so far as the permeation. Permeation of proteins. Proteins are not permitted by the cell membrane. Cell membrane cannot allow the proteins to pass through them directly as other small molecules pass through the cell membrane, but the proteins are not permeable through the cell membrane. However, they can pass. They can pass by two processes. One process is exocytosis and another is endocytosis. एक्सोसाइटोसिस के जरिए और एंडोसाइटोसिस के जरिए प्रोटीन्स सेल मेम्ब्रेन के आर पार जा सकते हैं. And the proteins can be denatured. They can be broken. The bonds can be broken. Proteins can be denatured. Denatured means the amino acids can separate from the proteins. The bonds can break from the protein, so that the proteins can get split into so many smaller parts by means of so many applications. That is application with soap, application with detergents, application with radiations, soaps, detergents, etc. They can denature the proteins. And the proteins are amphoteric in nature. Amphoteric means they are having amphoteric in nature. Amphoteric in nature means they are having positive ions and negative ions. Cation and anion. Cation and anion are present in the protein molecule. They are amphoteric in nature. They are having both cations and anions, positive groups as well as negative groups in their molecules. The proteins may be of two types. Some proteins are fibrous proteins, some are globular proteins. Fibrous proteins means those proteins which are just in the form of fibers. They are insoluble in water. They are fibers. And globular proteins are those proteins that are spherical, like albumin. Albumin is a globular protein. Globulin, it is a globular protein. Hemoglobin, it is a globular protein. Albumin, globulin, hemoglobin. So far as the fibrous protein, we can say keratin. Keratin is present in skin, keratin is present in nail, keratin is present in hair. This keratin is a fibrous protein. Proteins may also be of some type so far as the functions. That is, there are some proteins which are called enzymatic proteins. Enzymatic proteins. Enzymatic proteins are those proteins which function as enzymes. Enzymatic proteins. Like there is pepsin in your stomach. हमारे स्टमक में पेप्सिन है, हमारे स्टमक इंटेस्टाइन में ट्रिप्सिन है. These are the enzymatic proteins. They help in digestion of food. They behave as enzymes. Some proteins, they are known as structural proteins. They form various structures of our body. Structural proteins are some proteins. They are structural in nature. They form structures like nails are formed from keratin, like skin is formed from keratin, hair is formed from keratin. Therefore, these proteins which form various structures, hair, skin, nails, they are called structural proteins. Some proteins act as food reserve. They are known as storage proteins. Storage proteins are those proteins. Storage proteins are those proteins which act as food reserve. Like there is albumin, globulin, ग्लूटलिन जो हम अभी पढ़ रहे थे. एल्ब्यूमिन इसमें फूड रिजर्व होता है. ग्लोब्यूलिन इसमें फूड रिजर्व होता है. ग्लूटिनिन इसमें भी फूड रिजर्व होता है. एल्बुमिन, ग्लोबुलिन एंड ग्लूटिनिन. Glutenin, these are the food reserve proteins. They store food. Proteins may be complete and they may be incomplete. There are complete proteins and there are incomplete proteins. Incomplete proteins and complete proteins में क्या फ़र्क है? Complete proteins are those proteins containing all the essential amino acids in their molecules. उनमें सारे के सारे amino acids मौजूद होते हैं. And incomplete, they lack some of the amino acids. Incomplete में amino acids lack होते हैं कुछ. Complete में सारे के सारे amino acids होते हैं. Complete proteins are also called first class proteins, and incomplete proteins are also called second class proteins. First class and second class proteins. बाकी the functions of proteins असल अच्छी तरह हम tomorrow पढ़ेंगे.